guys, welcome back to Dimitra's Dishes. So today I'm going to make pesto palmiers and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to make them. What you're going to need is some puff pastry, 1 sheet. I would highly recommend you make 2 of these because they're going to go really fast if you're serving them as an appetizer. But for this recipe I'm going to show you how to make 1. You need some chopped walnuts or pine nuts, either one will do. Some chopped up sun-dried tomatoes, crumbled dodonis feta, which is a sheep's milk feta, freshly ground black pepper, a tiny bit of salt, and prepared pesto. I have the recipe on my website, www.dimitrasdishes.com, and it's also on the YouTube channel. Look for it. I've made delicious pesto pizza with it, and it's really yummy, so make sure you get the recipe and you make it. So palmiers are really delicious. I mean, they're mostly well known for their sweet version, which is rolled up. They're like little heart-shaped cookies. I have that recipe on my website too, and they're rolled up with sugar and cinnamon, and they're really yummy. But you can make savory versions of these too, and that's what I'm going to make today. So I don't have a rolling pin at home, as you already know. So I'm just going to use a bottle. Go ahead and use whatever you have. I'm just going to roll out the puff pastry just 1 inch all around. Just need it to be 1 inch bigger, 1 inch or 2. Doesn't matter. You don't have to measure. Just roll it out so it can be a little bit bigger than what it came in. And puff pastry is sold in your freezer section, the freezer section of the supermarket, you guys. So please make sure to have it in your house all the time. It's a lifesaver when you need to make something last minute. I mean, I've used it to make so many things so far, from desserts to savory appetizers like this one, my chicken pot pie. I use it as a top, and it's so, so delicious. And it's really easy to use. Why wouldn't you have it? You should have it in your house all the time. All right. So I rolled out my puff pastry, and now I'm just going to spread my pesto sauce all over it. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm going to sprinkle my walnuts all over here. And you can use walnuts, you can use toasted pine nuts. If you like cashews, go ahead and use those. But since I've already made my pesto with walnuts and I had walnuts in my house, I'm just using them. Tastes really good with pine nuts too. Okay, then I'm going to take my sun-dried tomatoes. These make it extra delicious. Adds that smoky flavor. They're slightly sweet. It's just really good. So try to spread them out as even as you can. And then crumbled feta cheese. This is the dodonis feta, which is a sheep's milk feta. My favorite feta. It's milder and creamier than a regular cow's milk feta would be. So if you've never tried it, make sure you try and get it. It's in the specialty food section in your supermarket. They might carry it. But if not, if you have a little Greek or Mediterranean market nearby, go in there and check it out. It's so creamy and so good. Now I'm just going to sprinkle some black pepper all over here. And I like to put a little extra black pepper in mine because I like my food a little bit spicy. But put as much as you like. This, you can totally control this. A tiny bit of salt, not a lot, because the feta is salty, the pesto already has salt in it. Now, we're going to roll these up. If you want bigger ones, bigger palmiers, bigger pastries, you can roll from the short side until you meet in the middle. And if you want smaller ones, you roll them up from the long side. So I've done the smaller ones before. I think I'll show you how to do the larger ones this time. Last time I made palmiers, I made the sweet ones, and I rolled them up from the longer side, and you can go ahead and watch that video, but it's pretty much the same thing. These are just going to be a little bit bigger. And as I'm rolling, I'm kind of pressing and tucking in, so that way the ingredients stay all together. Now I'm going to do the other side. That's about halfway. You can definitely bust out your ruler if you want to be perfect, but you know what, if this is going to be really rustic and it's going to be beautiful anyway, you don't have to measure. If one side is a little bit bigger than the other, it really is not going to make a difference. It's going to be so delicious that nobody will care. Seriously. Okay, so once they meet in the middle, you're going to press them together. and kind of pinch them so they stay together. Tuck in the corners. At this point, I'm going to chill this, and I'm going to see where I have space. If I have space in my freezer, I'll chill it for about 15-20 minutes. If not, I'll keep it in my refrigerator for 30 to 35 minutes. And the reason I do that is so that it can stay nice and firm, so it's easy when I slice it. Otherwise, it got kind of soft because I've been working with it, and it's going to kind of like be hard to slice if it's not firm and nice and chilled. So I'm just going to pop this in my freezer. I don't know where I'm putting it. I'm either putting it in my freezer or my refrigerator. 15-20 minutes in the freezer, 30 to 35 minutes in the refrigerator, and then they'll be ready to slice. All right, so it's been 15 minutes in the freezer, actually. I did have room in my freezer, so I let it chill in there so it could be quicker. And now I'm just going to take it out and begin to slice it. And we want to slice this into about 1/4 inch thick slices. And try to use a sharp knife so that way it stays together and doesn't get squished. It's going to puff up, so if it starts to separate a little bit, it's okay. I preheated my oven to 400 degrees, so make sure you do that. And I'll continue slicing these, and I'll show you what they look like when they're ready, all laid out on the tray. All right, so I put them on 2 trays lined with parchment paper, just so that way I make sure that they cook and they bake evenly. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of black pepper on each one, just because I love black pepper. I love them just a tiny bit spicier than everyone else does. You can totally skip this step if you're not a huge black pepper fan, but give it a try at least once. It's really yummy. And that's it. They're ready to go in the oven. The oven is preheated at 400 degrees. They're going to bake for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're nice and golden and puffed up. And I'll show you what they look like as soon as they come out. All right, so my palmiers cooked for 20 minutes at 400 degrees. And this is what they should look like when they come out. You see how big they got, how they puffed up, and how pretty they are? So this is why you want to make sure not to put more than 10 when you're making the bigger ones. This is why you want to make sure not to put more than 10 in one of these half-sheet baking pans, especially when you're making the bigger ones. If you're folding from the long side and you're making smaller ones, and that's fine. You could probably squeeze more in, but there's 10 on each, 10 on this sheet, and let's see how many we made. I didn't even count them. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We made 19, so this makes about 19 big palmiers, and I'm going to get them ready. Okay, so I'm going to set these on my tray, and I have some pesto that I made because I know even though these have pesto in them, they taste really good even with a side of extra pesto. So let me get a spatula. So these are perfect and super flavorful, very easy to make. I made them right in front of you. You can definitely do this. Look how pretty that looks. Now, if that's not going to impress your guests, I don't know what will. Serve it with some extra pesto for a little more flavor. They have a lot of flavor, but a little more flavor never hurt anybody. Get this recipe on my website, www.dimitrasdishes.com, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for spending time with me. Bye, everyone.